Hello everyone, I am Durga Saujanya, Assistant Professor from Department of ECE, MLR Institute of Technology. I am going to give the video lectures for the subject Embedded System Design. Our today's topic is Non-Preemptive Scheduling 2. So this comes under Task Scheduling and in Unit 4. So in this session, we are going to discuss about what is the summary of previous session, and in the summary of previous session, we have discussed about the task scheduling types. In task scheduling, there are two types of scheduling algorithms are there. One is non-preemptive and preemptive. So in non-preemptive scheduling algorithm, once the process starts its execution, it will not be stopped until the completion of execution. So whenever one process enters into the ready queue, whenever the resources are allotted to that, it will continue for its execution, and no other process will not be entered in between the execution of the first process. So and whenever the CPU or other resources allotted for that a particular process, they are not released until the execution of that process. In preemptive scheduling, when one process is going for execution in the ready queue and it is waiting for execution, here whenever any event occurs or interrupt occurs or any high priority process occurred in that time, so the current process will be preempted and it is going for waiting state, and the process which is having higher priority will enters into the operating system for execution, and after the completion of that process, again the execution flow will come back to the first process and it completes its execution. So that means here the current process is preempted and another process will enters into the execution, and after completion of flow of execution, again it comes back to the preempted process. So that is the preemptive scheduling algorithm. Here, so in the last session, we have discussed about the non-preemptive scheduling and the two algorithms which are used for non-preemptive scheduling. So how can we schedule our processes? In non-preemptive method? So here we have seen two methods, one is FIFO, another one is LIFO. So FIFO is first in first out, LIFO is last in first out. In FIFO scheduling algorithm, so whatever the process entered into the ready queue first, the first entered process will be going for execution first. So we have to schedule the processes in the operating system like that, whatever the process entered into the ready queue first, it should be executed first. While going to the LIFO method, here whatever the process entered last, so that will be executed first. So here in LIFO method, so we have to prepare an algorithm like that, whatever the process entered last will be executed first. So this is the LIFO method and this is the FIFO method. We have seen these two methods in the last session. Now in today's session, we are going to learn about the another two algorithms, scheduling algorithms in the non-preemptive scheduling. So one is SJF scheduling and priority based scheduling. So we are going to discuss about the shortest job first scheduling algorithm and priority based scheduling algorithm and examples for these two algorithms. So while going to the today's session, our first one is shortest job first scheduling. Here in the shortest job first scheduling, so we have to see the scheduler has to see the execution time of all the processes. On all the processes, whatever the process having the shortest time for execution, so it will be going for execution first and it will be going for the ready queue first, and next whatever the next shortest time for all the processes, for the remaining processes, so that will be executed next. Here the CPU allocates time for the processes, that means the scheduling will be done based on the execution completed time for the processes. Here the average waiting term is given for a set of processes is minimal in shortest job scheduling. So whatever the process takes the waiting time very minimum and the execution time will be minimum. So then only that particular process will be having the shortest time for completion. So therefore, whatever the process is having waiting time less and the execution completion time will be less. So that process will be going for execution first. So optimal compared to other non-preemptive scheduling. So because here we have seen the shortest time completion time for the job first. So it is very optimum method compared with other non-preemptive methods. Here in this method, the drawbacks are the process whose estimated execution completion time is high may not get a chance to execute if more and more processes with least execution time. So when any process, if the process 1 having the execution time of 15 milliseconds and process 2 having the execution time of 6 milliseconds and process 3 having the execution time of 17 milliseconds and process 4 having the execution time of 4 milliseconds. So here first P4 goes to the ready queue and it will go for execution. After completion of execution of P4, we will go for the next shortest time, which is P2. So first P4 will go for execution and next P2 will go for execution and next P1 will go for execution and next P3 will go for execution. So even though it entered prior to the P4 into the operating system, so it will wait until the completion of all the processes. So therefore, the estimated execution completion time is very high for the process which is having high execution time compared with other processes, and it enters into the ready queue before the process with longest execution time starts its execution. Even though it enters into the ready queue prior to the P4, it will took a very long time for completion of its execution. Here when we have seen the scheduling for P1, so in the ready queue first P1 enters and next P2 enters and next P3 enters and next P4 enters. This is the ready queue. So it will take the time for 15 milliseconds and P2 will take 6 milliseconds, P3 will take 17 milliseconds, P4 will take. So while going for execution, first P4 will be executed because it is having the less execution time. So here its waiting time is 0 and it completed by 4 milliseconds. So next P2 will go for execution. So now P2 started at 4 milliseconds. It will take 6 milliseconds means it will take 10 milliseconds. At 10 milliseconds time, the P2 process will be completed. So after that, P1 enters into the execution. So at 10 milliseconds, P1 started and that process will be completed by 15 milliseconds. So 10 plus 15 means at 25 milliseconds, its execution will be completed, and P3. So now P3, which is having highest execution time, it is entered at 25 milliseconds and it will take 17 milliseconds. That means it is completed by 42 milliseconds. So here when we observe that, so even though it enters prior to the P4, that is, so it enters prior to the P4 in the ready queue, but after P4 completed its execution, it will wait for at most, here it is, so 4 plus, so 0 plus 4, that is 4 milliseconds. So here from 4 milliseconds to 42, so our starting time is 25. So from 4 milliseconds to 25 milliseconds, it is in the waiting state. So that means even though it is entered prior to the ready queue, it will be having very longest waiting time for completion of its execution. So this is the drawback of this shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So that it leads to starvation of processes with high estimated completion time. So those are having the high estimated time, so those will be in that process only. So those will not come out of that operating system or from ready queue. So those are having highest execution time. So those will be staying in that ready queue only. Even after P4, if any process which is having less execution time than P3, so it will be executed next. So that means the P3 will be in the waiting state until another process which is having highest execution time than this will enter into the ready queue. So that is called as starvation process. So the starvation, the problem will be occurred because of this highest estimated completion time. So therefore it is difficult to know in advance the next shortest process in the ready queue for scheduling, because whenever any new process entered into the ready queue, if it is having the less execution time, so then it will go for execution. Therefore it is not possible to decide which one is having the next shortest time for going for execution. So keep entering into the ready queue at any point of time. So this is about the shortest job first algorithm. So let us go for one example problem for this. Here there are three processes are there, P1, P2, P3, having the estimated completion time of 10 millisecond, 5 millisecond and 7 milliseconds. And now by using this shortest job first scheduling algorithm, so we need to calculate the waiting time and turnaround time. So here the scheduler first sorts the ready queue based on the shortest estimated completion time. So here for P1, P2, P3 it is having, so first in the ready queue we have P1, P2, P3. So what is the estimated time for P1? It is 10 millisecond. What is the estimated time for P2? 5 millisecond. So the estimated time for P3 is 7 millisecond. So in this, what is the process having shortest execution time? P2. So that, so in the job queue, so this is in the job queue. So now in the ready queue, first P2 will go for execution and next P3 will go for execution and next P1 will go for execution. So now here, see here first P2, P3, P1. So first P2, next P3, next P1. P2 is having the 5 millisecond. So it is 10 milliseconds. It is 5 milliseconds. It is 7 milliseconds. Right. So here the waiting time for P2 is, so there is no waiting time for the first process. Therefore it is 0. So 0 milliseconds. What about the waiting time for P3? So it is 0 and up to the completion of P2, that is 0 plus 5 milliseconds, which is 5 milliseconds is the waiting time for P3. And next, what about P1? So here it takes 5 milliseconds for execution. It takes 7 milliseconds for execution. Total 12 milliseconds P1 has to wait. So therefore the waiting time for P1 process is 12 milliseconds. And turnaround time. So what about the turnaround time for P1? So it enters into the ready queue at 0 milliseconds and it takes 5 milliseconds for execution. Therefore 0 plus 5, which is 5 millisecond, is the turnaround time for process 2. And next for process 3, it enters into the ready queue at 5 milliseconds. So after completion of this, so at 5 milliseconds, P3 enters into the ready queue and it takes 7 milliseconds for completion. Therefore 12 milliseconds is the turnaround time for P3. And next P1. So after 12 milliseconds, P1 enters into the ready queue. So therefore 12 milliseconds plus its execution time is 10 milliseconds. Therefore total 22 milliseconds is the turnaround time for process 1. So here, so these are the waiting times for process 2, process 3 and P1, and these are the turnaround times for P2, P3 and P1. So average waiting time is nothing but average of all the processes waiting time. Like that, average turnaround time is average of all the turnaround time for processes. So the average execution time. So here the execution time is already given in the problem, which is 5 millisecond, 7 millisecond and 10 millisecond. So average of all the execution times. So these are all the calculation of waiting time, average waiting time and average turnaround time and average execution time. So here we can calculate the average turnaround time in two ways. One is by using this method and another one is average waiting time plus average execution time. So here we need to calculate the average waiting time and average execution time. So the total or the sum of average execution time and average waiting time will also give the average turnaround time. This is the shortest job first scheduling algorithm. Next we go for priority based scheduling. So till now we have seen that the FIFO algorithm, LIFO algorithm and shortest job first algorithm. So in these three methods in FIFO algorithm, so the process which entered into the ready queue first will served first. In LIFO algorithm, the process which entered last into the ready queue will served first. In shortest job algorithm, so which process having the less execution time, so which process having the less completion execution time, so that process will be served first. So next one is priority based scheduling. So in priority based scheduling, the scheduler itself will assign priority to all the processes entered into the OS. So OS is always, in OS we are having a continuous running of so many number of processes. There are from process 1 to process n number of processes are continuously running in the OS. So for each process, the scheduler will assign one ID, so which is called as priority ID. So based on that number or ID, so we need to go for scheduling. So depending on two ways, the scheduler can allot the priority to the processes. So based on the execution time or the priority, that means the event to be occurred on that process, or here a priority is nothing but it is a unique or same associated with each task. For each process, we will have a unique number which is called as priority. So the priority should be taken by the scheduler in two ways. In one way is the scheduler will assign a number to each process. So just like randomly, one priority 1 to P1, priority 2 to P2, priority 3 P3. So whatever the process entered into the OS first, it will give the first priority, and whatever the process entered into the next, that will give the second priority, next third priority, next 4, next 5, like that. Otherwise, the time required for completion of its execution. So based on the execution time, the scheduler will assign priority to the processes. That means whichever process having the less execution time. So like that, if P1 is having the execution time of 5 millisecond and P2 is having the 10 millisecond and P3 is having the 7 millisecond and P4 is having the 4 milliseconds, then P4 will get the first priority, that is priority 1, and P1 will get the priority 2, P2 will get priority 3, P3 will get priority 4. So that means here the scheduler will decide in which way it can assign priority to the processes. So there are two ways for assigning the priority to the processes. One is assigning a unique ID number to all the processes and assigning the priority based on the execution time. Here in number based priority assignment, the priority is a number ranging from 0 to the maximum priority supported by OS. So here the range will be decided by the OS. So that is from 0 to 255. So like that, there should be a range for assigning priority to the processes assigned by OS. So on these numbers, in number based priority assignment, the scheduler will assign from 0 to 255. So one unique number, so one number to one process, like that. And the example for this is Windows CE. So Windows CE operating system supports 256 levels of priority. Therefore, it can be having the priorities from 0 to 255, in which 0 is having the highest priority, the number 255 assigned for the process having the lowest priority, and the priority is assigned to the task and creating it. So whenever any process is created, so when any process enters into the operating system and when its state was creating state, so when any new process is created, in the creating state only the priority number will be assigned to that process. So that will be done by dynamically by using the scheduler. And in the non-preemptive priority based scheduler sorts the ready queue based on the priority and picks the process with the highest level of priority for execution. So in create state only, so the scheduler will assign priority to the processes based on either number based or execution time based. So based on these two methods, the scheduler will assign priority to each process in the create state. So after create state, each process will go for ready state, right? So here, while moving to the ready state, the scheduler will send the process based on the priority to the ready state, right? So which is having the highest priority will first move to the ready state. Which process is having the lowest priority will move next to the ready state. So here the drawbacks of this priority based scheduling is here also the starvation will occur, because if we have used the number based priority, so each process will get unique number, so one by one they will be executed. If the priority is based on the execution time, so then here also the starvation problem will be occurred, and the starvation can be effectively tackled in priority based scheduling by dynamically raising priority of low priority task which is under starvation. So here how can we solve this starvation problem means, here we can, the scheduler can schedule the processes like after some waiting time, immediately that process will get the higher priority. That means if P1 is having the priority 4 and P2 is having the priority 2 and P3 is having the priority 1. So here P3 is executed and next it will go for P2. Okay, so in the P2 process, here again in P5 if it is having the priority 3. So here P2 is executed. So now if the waiting time which is scheduled by the scheduler is completed for P1, so then its priority will be moved from 4 to 3. Here whenever the P3 completed, the P2 will go for priority 1 and P1 will go for P5 will go for priority 2 and P1 will go for priority 3. So after some waiting time, automatically the process's priority will be changed to the next level. So in this way the starvation problem will be effectively reduced. So the technique of gradually raising the priority of the processes waiting in the ready queue for preventing the starvation is known as aging process. So the technique or the process which is used for raising the priority of the processes automatically whenever it is entered into the ready queue. So after some waiting time, so the priority will be raised and then it is going for ready queue for execution. So this process is known as aging. So it is used for reducing the starvation problem. So the example for priority based scheduling is, here we have taken 3 processes. One is P1 is having the 10 milliseconds execution time and P2 is having the 5 millisecond execution and P3 is having the 7 milliseconds execution. And the scheduler assigns priorities which is having 0 for P1 and 3 for P2 and 2 for P2. So the priority 0 will be assigned for P1, the priority 3 will be assigned for P2 and priority 2 will be assigned for P3. So here 0 is having the highest priority and 3 is having the lowest priority. So now calculate the waiting time and turnaround time for each process. Here we know that based on the priority which is having the highest priority 0. So that is process P1 is executed first and next which is having the highest priority, next 2 is the highest priority. So therefore P3 is executed next and P2 is executed next. So this is the sequence of processes executed in the priority based scheduling. So here first the waiting time. So here first P1 and next P3 and next P2. Yes, this is the waiting time is 0 and P1 will take the 10 milliseconds for execution, 5 milliseconds and takes the 7 milliseconds. So the waiting time for P1 is 0 milliseconds. So waiting time for P1 is 0 millisecond and for P3 is 0 plus 10. So 10 milliseconds. And P2 is here 10, it's 7. That is 17 milliseconds is the waiting time for P2. So these are the waiting times for P1, P3, P2. Next, going for the turnaround time. So for turnaround time, so the time when the process entered into the ready queue, that is here it entered into the ready queue at 0 milliseconds. So 0 plus execution time is 10 milliseconds. That is 10 millisecond is the turnaround time for process 1. And next for P3, here it enters into the ready queue after completion of P1, that is after completion of 10 milliseconds. So it enters into the ready queue. So at 10 milliseconds time, the P3 enters into the ready queue and it takes 7 milliseconds for execution. Therefore, total 17 milliseconds is the turnaround time for P3. And next for P2, it takes 17 milliseconds for enters into the ready queue, 10 plus 7, so it enters at 17 milliseconds and it takes 5 milliseconds. Therefore, 22 milliseconds is the turnaround time for P2. So here these are the waiting times for P1, P3, P2, and average waiting time is the average of all these waiting times, and turnaround time is here 10, 17, 22. So for P1, P3, P2, this is the average of all the turnaround times. So this is the total average turnaround time for processes. So in this way, we have to calculate the average waiting time and turnaround time for each process and total average turnaround time and average waiting time. So based on the priority based scheduling. So here in this session, we have discussed what are the topics covered in the previous session, the summary of the previous session, and what is the shortest job first scheduling algorithm and the example problem for the shortest job first algorithm, and priority based scheduling. So how can we assign the priorities to the processes, and how can we schedule, how can the scheduler in the OS schedule for each processes, and example problem for this priority based scheduling. And we have seen the drawbacks of the SJH scheduling algorithm and priority based scheduling, which is starvation problem, and how can we avoid the starvation problem also. So these are the topics covered in the present session. Thank you.